Hey everybody, it's TheSketchMonkey here. Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be about the new BMW 4 Series, and I'm sure you've seen the new M4 that's leaked as well. And it looks pretty much exactly what everybody thought it was going to look like. We're still going to have the front plate covering partially covering the grille and kind of dividing it into two separate areas, one top grille, and then you have almost a miniature BMW grille underneath this plate. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to discuss, is this something that we really want to redesign? Because I've received so many messages about the 4 Series and people waiting for me to redesign this thing. But honestly, I don't think I want to redesign it. Yes, there are a few issues that I'm going to mention today with this design, and that we can possibly change. And yes, we're going to do that in this video as well. But generally, I don't feel like it's really needed, because think of it like this: would you really want to have a traditional grill on this 4 Series, the same grill that we've seen over and over and over and over again the past 10 years? Do you really want to have that same styling for the next foreseeable future of any brand? Do you want them to stay exactly the same, or do you want them to start having some fun and starting to explore, maybe go back to the 30s, 1930s, and take some inspiration from that design language and then apply it onto the modern cars? For me, for sure, I want them to start experimenting, even if that means, making the masses get used to a completely new graphic design in the front, such as the 4 Series here, which is going to receive a lot of criticism probably for the next year or so, but eventually people are going to get used to this, and it's also going to start make some sense. But as I said earlier in the video, there are a few graphical issues with this design in particular, and I think I know why. So I'm gonna show you what those issues are, in my opinion, and then also why they occurred in this 4 Series here. So, as you know, this is BMW's first car with this front fascia, which is the two massive kidneys that goes almost from the top of the hood almost all the way down to the bottom. What this does, though, or what I think BMW did here, is they didn't go all the way with this type of design style. You see these kidneys here, they are very structured. They're very geometrical, almost like two rectangles in right next to each other, and that creates a very static looking graphical element. And now compare this element with the rest of the fascia. All of a sudden you get all these organic styling, the curvatures of the light right here that goes something like this angle right here with the intake as well. It's not very static, it's not very geometrical. And then also you have this styling feature down here, which is some sort of air intake in the bottom, which kind of holds the grill up in a way. And what this does, in addition to the rest of the body right here, the greenhouse, for example, very organic looking with this line right here, and you barely have any sharp shoulder line in this design anymore. So what this does in combination with this massive grille is that the grille seems like it stands out even more than it have to, I guess. Because if you were to make this a little bit, so you have two solutions for this. The first solution is you make the grille more organic in line with the rest of the body lines of the car. So you might want to add something like this. Maybe it goes in like that. You have an angle there and continue to connect it like this. And then of course you do the same on this side. Not have it be straight here, 90 degrees. We might want to have it go in something like this to create some more dynamic feeling to this front end that is the new grille. Or the second thing we can do, which is a much more substantial change for the 4 Series, is to have everything else on the car adapt to this new change in the front, which is the design language of the one single graphical element, which is this grille right here. That would be more of an interesting change, in my opinion. That would mean that the headlights needs to be more straightforward. Then they can't have all these curvatures to them like we have right here. we need to have almost a sharp line like this, and then maybe a headlight that goes something like this in connection with this. So this part of the headlight that sticks up above this part needs to be taken off, and we want to have a continuous line, something like that, that follows the top part of the grille and then comes down and creates the headlights in some sort of chamfers or holes in the body of the car. But as I said, it can't be too curvy, it can't be too organic, otherwise it's going to clash with the grille. And same thing here, we might want to just cut this and make it something like this, so we have a very geometrical feel to the overall shapes and lines on this car. And same thing here, we might want to create something like this and remove the curvature from this front bumper and the air intake that holds the grille. We might want to have it basically mirror the outline of the grille and have the same shape there. And what this does, I think this would suit this car better, because you either go all in or you step back and you take a look at the big change you did, which is the grille, and have that be more of a organic shape to go in line with the rest of the body, or you want the rest of the body to be more in line with this new massive change in the front. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to try to simplify the graphics of the front of the 4 Series, and just for the fun of it, have some fun with it and see how that would look. I'd rather not change the 4 Series. I like it as it is. I think it's a really cool design, and it's a new giant step forward for BMW. But since you all asked me to do something about this, I'm not going to change the grille, because that wouldn't make sense to me, because that is the new design that they're going with. So instead, I'm going to change the rest of the body to fit this new design feature, which is the grille. So the changes that we did here weren't really that dramatic, and that's exactly what I didn't want happening here. I didn't want to restyle this and completely, you know, discard the big element in the front of the grille, which is the massive new grille. Instead, I want to work around that and implement this new change that I'm excited about, and have the styling of the rest of the front fascia be more connected to that new design. And what I did here was pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. What I wanted to connect specifically the eyes to the nose, have that be more in line. And how I did that was to, instead of having the lights that BMW has now in the 2 Series as well, specifically in the 2 Series, and I've made a redesign of that as well, just because of that single thing that I'm going to talk about now, is that the headlights, if you look at the headlights from a straight front view of the 2 Series and the 4 Series, but the 4 Series is not as extreme as the 2 Series, you can see that they are starting to get this angle when it comes to the headlights of the front. So what I wanted to do, since the grille, you see the top line of the grille is completely horizontal, so that line between the 2 kidneys, that needs to continue somewhere. It needs to connect somewhere in the headlights. So what I wanted to do is create this crease that inside of this eye socket almost, we have the headlights, and also bring them down more in line with the grille, the top line of the grille. Very simple change, but to me this makes a huge difference, and it makes the design look more in line. It makes all the graphical elements of the design play better together and create a nicer face to look at. Simple as that. And same thing with the lower intakes on the side. I want to make them more square, simple, and also have them, because having them be square is going to relate more to the squareness of the grille in the middle, instead of having them have all kinds of angles to them, it's not going to work well. And I think that's, as I said in the beginning, that's kind of the problem with the 4 Series. It went halfway, it did a big change, but the rest of the design didn't have time to adjust to this big change, and kind of is back to 3 years behind. But I think this is going to catch up eventually with BMW. The issue here, though, that I'm afraid of happening when BMW catches up with this very product designy grille is, I've said this before in a video, I think, is the lack of emotion in the design. I think that's going to be the big next challenge for car manufacturers and car designers in general, is to how do we stop to overstyle cars and make them more product designy in their feel, which means more geometrical lines and less, you know, emotion in the lines. But how do we do that without losing the specialness of car design, which is that there is so much emotion when you see a car? Just think of it like this. When you go and see a BMW, for example, let's take a BMW here, you get this powerful, aggressive feeling that it's capable of taking you from point A to point B. No matter what is in between that point, it will get you there. That is what the BMW face, to me, stands for. Or if you go and look at a Alfa Romeo Me-Too or the previous Toyota Yaris, now they're all angry for some reason, but if you look at the early Toyota Yarises, it just looks like a happy little car. You always get a feeling when you look at cars. You don't get that when you look at a cell phone, for example. And that's exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about losing the emotion and going more towards consumer electronics instead of having it be an emotional object. I think that's going to be the big challenge moving forward. But as I said, this does not require a lot of change. I think BMW will eventually catch up with this grille and have the rest of the car follow in line towards that styling of their cars.